Hey everyone, welcome back. This is MTG Moxman, and of course, tonight's video, as promised, lore video on Urza, part 1 of 2. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Stay tuned, it's coming up next. Hey guys, welcome back. This is MTG Moxman. I hope you guys had a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. It's not too late, of course, to join up for our free giveaway video if you're happy to catching this lore video. The draw is this Sunday, so please hit the link below, join the draw. It's free to do. Just make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're always happy to have new people aboard. Alright guys, and thanks you to all the people who watch this video every day. It makes all the difference in the world to the channel and the growth of this area of my life, which is awesome. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. So this is part 1 of 2 of Urza's lore video. Now, let's be honest, guys. This history you guys asked me to cover. Oh, sorry. This history you've asked me to cover is massive. It's taken about 2 weeks to get everything together in pieces. I haven't finished everything, but I've got at least up to part 1 done. There's a lot of different areas of reading you have to do when you're doing these kind of lore videos, guys. You want to kind of encapsulate some of the cool stuff that happened in these characters' lives, as well as not take away from the dramatic presence of the characters involved. So I hope I do a little bit of justice. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Please make sure you comment below. I really do appreciate when I get comments about how these things go. The lore videos are not popular with the mass audience of YouTube. I'm not getting 1,000 hits off this stuff. And it does take a very, very long time to catch all this information, but it's fine because you guys are asking for it and you're the ones watching my channel. So I'm more than happy to do these things, guys. Just make sure you leave a comment below of the ones you would like to see. We have Innistrad, I think, actually coming up tomorrow as well. I've finished the research and put most of that together. I think that one's for Ryan, or Matthew. It's going to be awesome, guys. I'm looking forward to doing that one as well. So thanks, man. This is awesome. All right, so here we go. And part 1. Alright guys, so in case you guys didn't know, Urza is a major character in like Magic's history. Okay, he's born to a noble family, and that family was kind of like on the edge of a coastal kingdom. It's kind of like a place in Dominaria called Tesher. It mostly is gone now in current history, but at the time it was there. Now his brother Mishra was born exactly 9 months later, like 1 year later. They grew up in the same royal family. You see the picture there. It shows a picture of Urza and Mishra. I believe it's from the comic book that happened of this series. And they do a comic series of the Brothers' War. Okay? So if you ever want to look that up, I did try to actually get a copy of it. But I'm not going to spend $70 to $80 per book to get it. So I was like, no. I'll pass. And I'll just read everything and put it all together. So Urza and his brother both grew up in the same town, same father. They're minor noblemen. They're not major characters, but they're minor inside their area. And it's a small kingdom. It's not big compared to some of the major continents of Dominaria, but it was still very cool. I'm sure they had pretty privileged lives. Now, Urza's father, okay, their mother ends up dying when they're very young. So what ends up happening is Urza and Mishra's father, he ends up like remarrying a very short time later. You know, I guess medieval time type of attitude and sphere of influence. You would expect to get married again pretty quickly because you didn't want your kids being raised alone. But then what ends up happening is the new mother doesn't really care for them at all. You know, whatever. I care about the riches and the money, but I don't really care about the kids. They're not my kids. And then their father grows ill. He actually gets really sick. So instead of like languishing around their little kingdom, he sends his 2 kids, Mishra and Urza, to live and help with Tor'Asha. Okay, now Tor'Asha is not a wizard or anything. She's an archaeologist, a very elderly archaeologist working in New Argav, part of Ergoth, and they're working on discovering how the Thran technology worked, which of course is like 5,000 years before all this, which is kind of cool, right? So the stuff we covered earlier is almost coming forward, because it's Yawgmoth, is all part of the Thran Empire, to where we are now. So Wizards done a good job. Like over the history of what Wizards of the Coast has done, they've built a pretty comprehensive history. And for all we know, guys, 50 years from now, 30 or 20 years from now, we may see movies on this stuff. They've done it kind of like Marvel. They've built things up quite nicely. Now, Tor'Asha was like a female archaeologist, and she was working on finding how the technology worked, what it could be used for to help their kingdoms. But, you know, she was just like a chill older lady. So, she taught Urza and Mishra the art of artifacts, which means how to make them, how to manufacture them, what parts were used, how to get the power sources for them, and, oh, sorry, I'm kind of over there a little bit, how to build these things up. You have to understand that, right? At this point, you have Urza, who likes to experiment with these artifacts and see how they work, and Mishra likes to be down there with the people doing the digging and bringing all this stuff up. He's like a hands-on guy, and Urza's kind of a distant, kind of hands-off kind of guy. Now, since they're learning about this, they go with Tarkasha, and they end up going to this place called the Caves of Kolis, which you see a card image right there. Very simple card, just does like ping damage. That's supposed to represent the Thran energy, which caused damage to the people who live there. And they find this stone together. And actually what we know now from Yawgmoth is that's the stone that Rebek left to keep everything together, to keep the planar portal closed, so you couldn't have Yawgmoth and the guys of Phyrexia coming in. So, the brothers see this stone. They both claim it for themselves, and they both pull at it. The two stones break apart. That is what you see on the screen with the Might Stone and the Weak Stone. Urza took one, Mishra took the other. Urza found that anything he used with the Might Stone made that thing stronger, and Mishra found that anything he used with the Weak Stone made things weaker. So they're on polar opposites of each other, and neither one wanted the other to have the stones, but they both had one piece. So, what ends up happening is now they've had these stones, and things are, okay at the camp, but they're not great. They're kind of petty fighting now. It's like the stones were kind of having an effect on them. Now, we know from the Yawgmoth videos, from our earlier one, if you haven't seen that, catch my Yawgmoth video on lore, that those stones are actually power sources used to power Thran technology, right? And they slowly warp people in a very negative way, usually causing damage to them. So, now we have it that Mishra and Urza fight over the stones. Okay, guys, this is not going well. You can't see me on the screen right now. I'm just talking as we go here. I apologize, but you have to be able to see this. So, they both have the stones, and they fight over them constantly. Now, at one point, they come to blows, and they fight in the encampment, and Tarkasha tries to break it up. But because they're using their Might Stone and Weak Stone against each other, it causes like a power flux. It causes an explosion, which kills Tarkasha. Mishra is just devastated and runs away as the explosion happened. Urza is devastated, but decides to stay and help a neighboring country of Yosha. And Yosha, you'll see on the map right there in a red circle I've done. And you see Tyrese is up the side, and you can see some of the coastal kingdoms where they probably came from. Okay? And this is actually from the Brothers' War. It's a kind of history of the Antiquity War. Alright? So, you gotta picture that. Urza's that distant kind of guy. Mishra's the hands-on guy. Mishra runs away. Urza decides, nope, that's not the way to go. We can't just run away from our problems. An accident happened, somebody's died. So he decides to go to the nearby kingdom of Yosha. And because the archaeology dig was over, because Tarkasha's not there to help it, everyone just kind of leaves. It falls apart. Urza doesn't stay. He ends up going to this city and works as a clockmaker's apprentice. Now, he knows a lot about minor artifacts and how to build them, so he becomes very popular in the city. Okay, he's doing stuff. But he's still just minding his own business at this point. So, the funny thing is he gets caught, which means something catches his eye. He hears a proclamation from the king of Krug, a very large military kingdom at that time, during this era of the histories of Dominaria. And he doesn't really care about that, but he likes the idea of a challenge. So the king has a proclamation saying, anyone who can move this gigantic jade statue, and it's funny they did do jade statue as a magic card, across the courtyard, because nobody can move it, will have his daughter's hand in marriage. All these strong men come out and try to push the statue and pull the statue. It's kind of like that famous thing about how Alexander unbraided the knot. In case you guys didn't know, in ancient history here on Macedonian, there was supposedly this impossible knot. Anyone who could untie the knot was going to be ruler of the world. So Alexander walked up and just took his sword out and cut the knot. Of course, fulfilling the prophecy, right? So in this case, Urza looks at it, studies this jade statue, and goes and gets one of his gigantic construct automaton clockwork things he's made. It walks over and moves the statue, just gets it out of the way. Well, this convinces not only the king, but the whole area of the nobles saying, hey man, this guy is like one smart cookie. He is an ally you want. He is from a noble family. He's an artificer. He can create artifacts. That's kind of crazy. Torches taught them the basics, right? And they've taken it from there. So, Urza's getting this thing. Now, this is the, what do we call it? Kyla, who is who Urza marries, the queen. But he doesn't really care about her. Get this, the dowry he gets from the king for all this stuff, he actually liked a book in there about Thran technology. So he took this ancient book, and on their wedding night, he spent all night reading that book. Not boding well for their marriage, but that's what he did. That's why he wanted to do all this, right? These things caught his eye. So, as you can see there, they ended up getting married, though, because that was the thing. And he's not king yet, but I guess he's king in waiting, right? He's going to be king. So, as Urza is slowly gaining power over the years, because this is years going by. This isn't like it's yesterday or 2 days, guys. So, as the years are going by, Urza is gaining power in Yosha. But at the same time, his brother, who fled that night, he became enslaved. There's a whole separate thing. We can do a history on him later. But he ends up basically joining outside tribes who are against these kingdoms. And because the kingdoms don't like each other, and Urza and Mishra don't like each other, this becomes like a huge war. So as Urza gains power, Mishra is gaining power. Mishra unites all the tribes of the Fajeli. And you got Urza with a massive, powerful kingdom of Yosha. And they end up doing little backstabbing things at first, small little skirmishes. But before you know it, boys and girls, this leads to a full-out, massive battle. I'm talking, they're wasting whole forests and devastating all the local resources. Giant things called dragon engines, which are kind of funny because they're like a 1-3 thing from antiquities. But they describe them as 100-foot tall, monstrous robot machines that batter through walls and stuff. And they're just, it's insane fighting, guys. People are being devastated on both sides. And this war is going for decades, okay? Not days, not months, not years. Decades. So you got a picture. Urza and Mishra were young when they started, okay? They're not young anymore. Just keep that in mind. And then, of course, in Dominaria, they had this thing called the Antiquities War card. And then I put a picture of the book there so you guys can see that there was actually a book. And you see all the skulls coming out because of all the people that died. And there are all kinds of cards related to this in flavor text, such like the Yoshan Soldier. These robot soldiers that, they didn't... Anyway. And Brassmen and all these creations that would go and fight the wars, right? Clay statues. It was very, very cool. And I didn't quite have a flavor for it when I was younger, but somewhere around 18, 19, I really understood what was going on. This blows my mind. The amount of information they gave us and how all the flavor, the lore of what happens in this world of Dominaria blows my mind. I love it. Then, as this war is going on, and it's been going longer and longer, what ends up happening is they go back to Ergoth because their resources everywhere else are just devastated. Urza's younger son, Hebron, finds Ergoth, okay, the actual island off the coast, and realizes all the resources are untapped. So Urza goes there to get resources. Mishra goes there. The local creatures and fauns and elves are all trying to fight back against all these invaders who are taking all their stuff. But they don't have nearly enough firepower to do this. So even Titiana, who's an elemental of that island, she goes to war and stuff. They all die, guys. Gets horribly beaten. They can't do anything about it. And as the forests and stuff are getting cut down, she's losing power. Urza or Mishra are just going at each other's throats. They build bigger and bigger war machines. They destroy all the forests of Ergoth. And then, as everything's being wiped out and torn down to build these war machines, you guessed it. I know. Okay. At the height of this battle, on the plains of Ergoth, what happens is Urza realizes that all these years they've been apart, Mishra doesn't seem to have changed much. And it turns out he was tainted and converted into a Phyrexian. Alright, then, as soon as Urza finds this out, he proceeds to use the Golgothian Silex, which is basically a nuclear bomb, okay? It destroys everything on Ergoth, including himself, his brother, the armies, everything. Everything is destroyed, boys and girls. It's all gone. It's history. But where Urza thinks he's going to die, instead, his Planeswalker spark is ignited. It just goes off, and he finds himself in a far-off realm. Now listen, in this picture here, you see the top right-hand corner is the Ergothian Silex, kind of like a bowl. Then you see Urza's Ruinous Blast. Of course, that's the explosion going off, the flavor text. And these are the different versions of Urza. Now, the funny thing is, the one you'll see of an old man, that's him during the Antiquities War, because he's been at it for years, right? Then you see younger versions of him, because at this point, pre-mending, Planeswalkers can look any way they want, which is why Tevesh Savat looks like a dragon guy. He can choose to look that way. So Urza starts out as an old man. He's already like 75 years old when this all goes down. But what happens is, as a Planeswalker, you can look any way you want at this point. So he himself starts looking younger. You see him in Sarah's realm, he's like a 20-year-old man all of a sudden. And that's, you know, you're talking, he's already been a Planeswalker for like 50 years, 60 years by this point. So that's only part one, guys, of what went down for Urza. I'll continue the next part next week when I finish getting everything compiled together and put together on screen for you guys. I hope you really enjoyed the video tonight. I loved putting it together for you. Please leave comments below what you thought. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and I look forward to showing you the next part. Now, tomorrow, of course, we have Innistrad lore, which is, I know we're doing 2 videos in 1 week, but I did promise these, and I'm a man of my word. I always keep my promises. And don't forget, we also have our weekend draw for all the free giveaways for the dual lands and the seeded packs. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys on Sunday. Please remember that it's going to be a very long video. I just think it's going to be very long. Okay, so bear with me when that goes down, because there's a lot of names and writing and stuff to do. So hopefully everyone can check that one out too. All right? Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. This MTG Moxman. And please remember, if you made it to the end of the video, to recall this interesting fact about Army of Darkness. It is directed by Sam Raimi. And Sam Raimi basically puts Bruce Campbell in every film since then. He's in Darkman. He's in all these crazy films. It's amazing. He's in all the Spider-Mans, the old ones anyway, that Sam Raimi did. So it's very cool to see him there. So, Bruce Campbell, Bubba Hotep, we love you, bro. Shop smart, shop S-smart, and it's the one in the car we want. All right, guys. See you soon. Have a great one. Oh, what did I put that up for? I was clicking the button to turn off. What's going on here? Thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. We'll try this again. Hey, anyone who watched the video this far in, this is kind of crazy, but you wait. We're going to have a great time coming up in December. I won't be doing much for November giveaway. I'm just at one little bots, but you wait till December, boys and girls. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Patrons rock!